You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped!
Yes!
And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, soccer friends. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I'm your host, John, and with me, as always, is the Robert Lewandowski of the Richfield Over 60 Indoor League and the voice of Minneapolis City Game Day, the Nate Morales. Nate, how are things going, man?
It gets more painful every time you rip me, man.
At least I attach you to like a legend. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
I could have said the Josie Altador of the...
I think he played with him last summer.
Men's Indoor
Josie
League
is not doing well.
Yeah. Well, for today's show, we are laser focused on our guest. We've got a great conversation with an old friend who has made his way all the way through the ranks of this soccer club up to his current position, club president. We will have Adam Pribyl joining us today.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk to Adam. But first, John, we do have a little bit of news from the club to talk about.
Yeah, and we're not talking about player signings. We'll do that next show. But the votes have been counted and the members have spoken. Minneapolis City has a new home kit for 2025 and ultimately 2026. For those of you who do not know, we typically are on a 2-year cycle for our jerseys since the beginning of our time as a club. But we decided 4 seasons ago to keep things fresher and would have our home and our away jerseys on opposite renewal cycles. So there's always some freshness. Last year, the Birds of the Feather away kit, black, pink feathers was created and ultimately won. And this year, the home jersey is up.
That's right. And this year, members got to vote this year that the members got to vote on the home kit. There were some really nice options, John. And,
they all were great.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we have a winner that's a little differentiated.
Yeah, I mean, for years, designers of all types have tossed their hat in the ring to design a kit for the club, and we've had some iconic tops created by world-famous, former Nike designer Matt Wolf, club co-founder Nick Sint chipped in quite a few other designers that I have not mentioned, have tossed their hat in the ring. But this year, the club, I guess, main graphic artist, Scott Mink, knocked it out of the park. The competition was stiff. I think there were 5 options, correct?
Yep.
5 all options. 5 options, in my opinion, worthy of the top spot. But the winner this year ultimately was a take on our iconic lightning bolt design that we've kind of used in and out for a number of years. This time, though, Nate, with a more muted pink colored accent instead of more of the brighter pinks that we typically use in the past. The funny part was, and this might not be knowledge to everybody, but the original jersey that was supposed to be our 5th option was light blue. But due to the awesomely timed leak of the new MLS kits, Minnesota United had gone with light blue themselves. So we found out while we were actually in a marketing team meeting that we probably shouldn't be going light blue. And within 30 minutes, Scott was clicking feverishly on his laptop and turned it around and showed us an adjusted design that would ultimately be this year's winner.
Wow. I mean, I love that it's bringing front and center what I think is one of the underrated symbols in the city toolbox, the lightning bolt. We had that Bowie lightning kit. It's one of my favorite of all time. And I think that's probably when City started dabbling with the bolt. And it's just done so well in this new design, creating that sweet, trippy pattern. But to me, John, this is especially momentous because first time in I don't know how many years that a kit with feathers didn't win.
Yeah, we already have one.
Yeah, I know. But we had 2 last year.
Yeah, yes.
I challenged the members to surprise me, I think, on the show where we reviewed all the kit options. And I even predicted, I'm like, feathers are going to win. Feathers always
win.
Yep. And
I was
and
a
the
big
members
fan of
did
Kurogami,
surprise me.
not because I was the one who called it that, but I thought it would be nice.
Was good.
Well, if you're looking to get one of these fantastic looking jerseys of your own, you can head on over to the team's club shop at mplscitysc.com. And for the nice price of $69, you can look as good as the players will this summer.
Yeah, I think it's obviously far superior to any kit that the professionals across the river have come up with this year. I'm going to say anything without some sort of disgusting stain down the front is like automatically in first place.
Yeah, very true, Nate.
As long as our guys aren't looking like they threw up on themselves or whatever, just came back from Vegas all hungover and disgusting. I think we're in good shape.
Looks like the puddle on the floor of a Southwest flight.
Exactly. It's fluid. We don't know what kind.
I'm gonna clip that one out for the future. It's fluid. I will. I'm just gonna save it. It's gonna be my ringtone when you call me.
Well, with all the new faces around the club, tonight we have a city mainstay on the show. Our guest has been with the club since the early days, first as goalkeeper coach, then eventually the head coach, then a long stint in the front office. And after taking over as president of the club last year, he has guided the team through a number of twists and turns already, with an eye on what the club needs to succeed, but also, most admirably, I think, what the players need to grow and develop. I want to welcome back to the show club president, Adam Pribyl.
Hey, thanks, Nate.
Well, Adam, because you've already sat in the seat before, we like to ask all of our guests your soccer background, so we won't really cover that. But if listeners are interested in hearing more about you, they have 3 passes at it in our archive. So head on over to all of our previous episodes that we had Adam on. You can learn more about Adam and his soccer journey at all the stops that Nate mentioned. But what I'd like to kick things off with this time joining us is about a year ago to the date. I looked back. You were announced as the new club president, stepping into the role that was previously held by Dan Hudeman. I want to fast forward 365 days since you set up your new post. How did year 1 go, in your opinion?
Oh, excellent question. I think, for me, it's been a lot of fun, but I think Nate actually said it really well. It was a lot of twists and turns, and that's kind of always the case with Minneapolis City. But I think the biggest thing is this is a labor of love. It's a passion project. I believe in what Minneapolis City stands for. There's peaks and valleys in trying to do a hard thing. But like I said, it's been a ton of fun. And I think that we're in a position as an organization to do a lot of really cool things and really special things in the future.
Yeah, the labor of love or of passion, as you mentioned, it is so true. And I don't think people outside the club really get it because they see the public-facing Minneapolis City and the 3 of us in this conversation and all the volunteers and coaching staff and players that have come and gone, like they really get it. And you have to make those sacrifices for certain other things in your life to actually be part of this. It's more of a privilege, right? Than a right, correct?
Matt Van Skoten, our general manager, he's been with the club for a long time as well, says it all the time, is it's a privilege and a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And that is absolutely the truth.
Wow. That's quite poetic from a guy that went to Bethel.
A solid Bethel dig. Points to you, Nate.
Yeah, just running the shin into the coffee table right there.
Adam, when you talk about guys, people that get it, right? You want to recruit. Obviously, from the beginning, we've always wanted to recruit players that get it. I think over the course of our almost 10 years knowing each other and being involved with the club, it's always important to have staff that gets it too. And I think that lesson was learned very well in this last year since you took over. And so you went and recruited guys that get it. Let's talk about Justin Oliver as the head coach, right? Mm-hmm. And Tudor Flintham as his assistant. Obviously 2 super successful coaches of 2 really great college programs. Of course, Justin Oliver, an ex-player, so he gets it. right? Was getting them on board kind of a matter of like just like timing, right place, right time? We've got the openings. You guys are looking for something, or were they sort of waiting in the wings anyway, itching to get involved? Had you been talking to them about potentially getting involved, or was it sort of like serendipity?
Actually, it was far more serendipity than anything else. We'd been having different conversations with other coaches, like, and then in a very truncated way, if we all remember last April, May. But then at the same time, when things went public that, we had dismissed our coach or moved on from our coach at the time, that it was like, we had Justin and Tudor both reach out. And they hadn't necessarily been on my radar. Of course, they're coaches that I admire and would love to have them in the club. And so both of them came forward and said, we want in. And look, I think that's a testament to Minneapolis City as a brand, as a club, that we're an organization that high-level coaches and high-level players want to be a part of. So I was really honored to have those coaches reach out to say like, yeah, we want to be a part of this project, and to have them not only do that for the short term, but to commit for, hopefully the long term as well.
And they came to you independently, I guess, of each other, right? So it's kind of
Absolutely.
Like, great. Thanks for your interest. Did you know this guy that you're really good friends with and have worked together, worked with before, is also interested? And it just kind of all came together from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, all coaches have egos. Like, it kind of comes with the territory. And I actually give a lot of credit to Tudor, because I think Tudor's been doing this a long time. He's a very qualified coach. I'd put him up against most coaches in the country at any level. And, he was the first one to say like, yeah, I'll be an associate. I'll help Justin, whatever the club needs. And that really speaks to Tudor's character. Like, he just, like, these guys just wanted to step up and help because the club meant something to them, or they see the potential of the club and what it can be.
Mm-hmm. And in this last year, they weren't, they might have been the first guys you brought on, but they weren't the last, right? Like, you and MVB have brought on a number of new faces, both front office and coaching staff, to help with the club at large, whether that's, umbrella positions or, helping with the futures. Probably the biggest hire, I would say the most eye-opening one would be Casey Holm, who John and I talked to on the last show. From your perspective, how has this addition of Casey helped the club this offseason?
I think, it's been absolutely massive for us. I'd spent a lot of time with Casey for the last couple of years. I was a big admirer of him and what he's done with St. Croix. I'm also just a big proponent in like in all facets of life, but especially in soccer, is that like you compete off the field, but we're all kind of doing the same thing. And so like keep relationships with all of your competitors and this, that, and the other. Right. And so sitting down with Casey over the last couple of years, really getting to know him and understand kind of what makes him tick, what he wants to do with his career. It just kind of naturally progressed in a way that when the opportunity arose, it wasn't, we were able to have a lot of great conversations and bring them into the organization. I think the really cool thing that Casey's done for the organization thus far is that, like, as you're seeing the roster start to roll out, like, the guy is an incredible recruiter.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like, these guys just are coming, like, these are players and colleges that were never in the conversation before.
Yeah, and I don't exactly know how he does it. And that's to his credit. It's like, look, he's got a system and a process, and he goes at it, and he's relentless. And it's not easy work. It's not work that a lot of people sign up to do. But I think that, like, when you meld what Casey can do and the power of of Minneapolis City, the brand, and frankly, I put that all on the fans, right? Like, the fan engagement, what our game day experience can offer, like, it really makes Casey's job quite straightforward. And so melding those two things together, I think we're going to put together probably the best roster that we've ever had in our history. And then, we'll see what we can do in a very tough USL2 this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think talent-wise, we've got the roster filling up with players, like I said, that hadn't really been in our orbit in the past. But we're still, but we've also got these guys like you think about Casal Harris, Mitchell Munzing, you've got Jonah returning, right? That still the club has developed. So we've got both, on the field this summer, we're going to have kind of that proven track record of development, as well as like, all right, this might be the next step in the club as we become hopefully like a magnet for some of these regional schools. Would you kind of hope is that kind of what you and Casey are hoping, that suddenly Minneapolis City becomes, the I don't know, the place that regionally these D1 and high level D3 schools are sending their guys in the summer?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of discussions in the club, I would say really over the last 3 years, as we've gotten into USL2 and we've seen the different level. Like, obviously, it's a very different level than where we're at with NPSL, and that's not to say anything about NPSL as a
You can
whole.
say whatever you want about them now.
Okay, beautiful. But look, USL2 is a massive step up. When we still want to be all about the Minnesota player, and the mission for me, I've always boiled it down to as simple as we want to make Minnesota soccer better. And so that's what we wake up thinking about every day. When I look at our roster and we've talked about bringing in some guys regionally, we've always leaned in on our rosters all have to be Minnesota players. And I've started to challenge that idea to say, if we believe that development is happening in training. The game is the assessment. Obviously we want to go out and win, but our players need to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes bringing in players from some different areas helps in the training environment. It helps keep guys sharp, because bringing in a few guys that will then they have nowhere else to be. They don't have any other connections. They're just here to ball out and play soccer and do their thing. I think really helps keep guys sharp, helps keeps guys focused, and frankly raises that level in training. Hopefully that then translates to match day.
I think you're talking probably about especially these guys from Drake that are joining us this year, right? Like a couple guys from, born and raised in Iowa, played their ECNL ball in Iowa. Maybe one guy played for, Minnesota United for a year or something like that. But for the most part, the Drake guys especially are Iowans, but they're still regional talent. And like you said, it's still about, getting the best players in so that our local players and our Minnesotan players can develop. I like how, we're able to, on one hand, say we need to try to fulfill the mission of upping our talent level, because the USL2 is a tough league, but at the same time still stick to the mission of player development is always first and foremost.
Yeah, it has to be. And Nate, I'll just we'll talk a little bit about some of the structure pieces as well, and how we're really looking at that. But it's every single year, and this is what I really love about Minneapolis City as an organization, is that we're small enough as an organization that we can be nimble, and what that means is every year we're able to innovate. We have not done the same thing from a programming standpoint 1 year over year. Every year we've gone back to the drawing board with coaches and staff and said, what can we do a little bit different that's going to make this better? And a lot of organizations are just so big that it's very hard to do that in a substantial way, that you upset the apple cart and it's we can't do that. So we just roll out the ball again and hopefully it gets better. And so that's really cool for us. And I think that's actually attracted a lot of coaching talent and different talent across the front office to say we want to be a part of something that's doing that.
Yeah. But I think on the other hand, one of the strengths of Minneapolis City is there are traditions. There is a history here, right? And that makes that a lot of that goes to making the club what it is today. You know, over the years, we've talked about the brotherhood so many times. This spirit of unity that was kind of famously ushered in during the NPSL days by guys like Ben Wexler, Matt Elder, Max Stiegwart, right? And the club has kind of seen that ebb and flow over the ensuing years as player pools shift and roster consistency changes. But I want to kind of understand maybe your perspective balanced against this need to innovate. How important is that spirit to the club's success on the field and also to the longevity of the club?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I might give I'll give as succinct as answer as I can, but stop me if I'm going too long.
We got all night, man.
Yeah, this show's all about you, man. So go ahead.
When I remember specifically building roster in 2017 with John Biswarm, and that was when we made the transition from what was the PLA to NPSL. And John and I went out and we went as the talent alone, filled the roster. And this is no knock on you, John, but because I think I was coaching it that year, so knock on me more than anything, but we weren't entirely successful that year, right?
No,
I think
we whiffed pretty hard on our thought process there.
Yeah, so I think we got third or fourth in the conference, and for the NPSL, that's abysmal.
It's not playoffs.
Yeah. So, but I remember then having conversation after that season of we've got to reset in terms of we got to get back to the core guys. We need club guys. We need guys that and that was I think the big one was we passed on Nick Hutton that year.
Yeah.
Then we're Nick Hutton is the guy that we need. We need Nick Huttons. We need Tim Willises. We need,
big game
the
James.
Ben Wexlers. Yeah, we those are the guys that personalities and they care about the club and they play for the badge. And that was our superpower for so many years.
Yeah.
Fast forward to USL2, and again, this is where I hit my soapbox a little bit, is that the college game has changed so much. The transfer portal, and NIL, and some of these foreign players, right? The college game has become so transactional, in that I'm going to get what I need. And if it's not going well, or I'm not playing, then I'm going to go somewhere else. And I'm not necessarily knocking guys for that. It's the environment that they're in. Again, it's just but I am knocking the environment as a whole, because I don't think it's good for anyone long term. Sometimes we all have to go through hard things, and sometimes there's tough situations that we should stick out. And sometimes you should have to, when you're a freshman, you should probably learn a little bit and fight through it, and fight, adversity is good for development. So I say all those things because that's all reflected in what happens in our organization with, when we're looking at USL2 and the futures is some of it is becoming, it feels at times a bit transactional of we're going to come in and get what we need. And if we're not getting what we need, we're just going to go somewhere else. And that's okay. I really do understand that, because I want to be very clear. I think the entire organization exists to better the players.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's if it's going to be a smash and grab for them, and fine. But while you're here, there has to be some core principles that matter. And so that's been, I think, the maturation of our organization, is to say we may not have guys that are in the club for 3, 4, 5 years anymore. Right?
Yeah.
You may not have Matt Elder, goalkeeper, playing for 4 seasons, 5 seasons with us anymore. But it does mean that guys that come in, we really have to do a lot better job at instilling culture really intentionally and quickly. And just because we just don't have the same amount of time.
Yeah. So who do you see carrying that torch this year? Teaching, all these guys what it means to wear the badge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why guys like Jonah Garcia, are so important, guys, like some of the returning guys, and frankly, I think that's why like a head coach like Justin Oliver means so much.
Yeah.
Matt Van Bunschoten as a GM, like, yeah, I mean, I put Matt as, he is Mr. Culture. He embodies everything that the club is and should be, and he helps carry a lot of that culture all the way through. And then, from a player perspective, like, again, the easy one to point out is Jonah. We're definitely going to have some returners that, like, even like a Shea Bechtel, who
Nick Kent.
Like, well, the Kents are just, I mean,
Yeah. They need to have another kid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We're going to run out of Nick soon.
Might not work anymore, John.
Did you guys did we all talk about Benji Kent biking up to Thunder Bay?
No, I did not know that.
Benji Kent, this is Nick and Max Kent's dad, biked to Thunder Bay last year to watch the game.
Wow.
Which I'm pretty sure is like a 500-mile bike ride. So he started the week before.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, if that doesn't say enough about that family, like, but
it really does explain a lot of how Max and Nick turned out, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just like the best type of humans. But so Nate, like, roundabout way to saying, like, actually think that there is some of it remains to be seen, and it is a entire club. Right now, last time I counted, we're at about 47 volunteers, including myself, that are running this thing. And so it's all of us being really intentional. And frankly, we are. It's culture first. It's about, being good humans, doing hard things, but doing hard things and enjoying it and rolling a ball out and having some fun.
Yeah. Right.
I totally echo your sentiment on Justin being a crucial part in the culture piece. I was at his first training session when he was appointed, and I don't know if these are the exact words, but he basically said, like, I was you and I know what this means, and it's not all about us. It's all about the fans, the club, like how things are done here, and we have to do it the right way. And you may not like it, but that's how we're going to do it. And I think that is so huge for us when you talk about the shift being from kind of the brotherhood model of guys playing 4+ years with us, and now maybe it's 1 or 2. You have to have that type of leader in order for it to really stick. So let's switch gears from the first team, from USL2, and talk about the second team in the futures. News has kind of slowly been coming out. It started first with the meeting with the players, but in the summer of 2025, Minneapolis City is no longer going to be competing in the UPSL. Can you talk a little bit about, or a lot about, whatever you choose, about the vision for that move and its effect on the futures group?
Yeah. Look, it starts with when I sat down in 2019 with Jeremiah Johnson, who was so instrumental. I mean, truly built the Futures program from the ground up. Yeah, he's the architect, man. And, he did so much in building the Futures, and the vision with the Futures program and anything leading into the first team was always to say, like, how do we build a academy type of model that isn't cost restrictive and can help bridge a gap from everyone in the Twin Cities metro area, like everyone in Minnesota that wants to have an opportunity to get into the USL2 first team environment, seeing what type of opportunities that can bring. Like, we've had 16 players in our time go pro, and countless others that have gotten tons of college opportunities. So, the assessment that we continued to look at was like, the UPSL, there's such a gap between the UPSL and USL2 in terms of level of competition that frequently our high performers at a UPSL level we'd get into a USL2 environment and they just weren't prepared. There's just too stark of a difference there. So that was one of the drivers. I think the second piece for me is looking at some of these national leagues, and you can take your pick, but the UPSL it's a for-profit league. It's run out of California, and they have this national playoff model. And what this national playoff model effectively does when we're looking at like how a semi-pro or amateur environment intermixes with like what is happening in the college game right now is that like they're cutting it down to like a 6 to 8 week season. And you're taking a summer and chopping off a bunch of weeks from it that like we need to be able to control our calendar a little bit better. And so if follow me along here, it's like UPSL wanted to start games in late April. And they want us to be done with games by early June, mid June at the very latest, so they can do a effing conference tournament, which is so dumb. I will be so dumb. Like
every
why
year when we were like far and away, like it didn't make sense that like multiple tournaments we had to win to be like, yeah, we won it. Okay, we won it again. Okay, we won it for a third time. Now we can actually go to the playoffs.
Like we collected so much hardware from UPSL in the 5 years or 6 years we were in that league because it was like we'd win the regular season, they'd send us a trophy, and then we'd win the conference tournament or and they'd send us another trophy. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are we all doing this?
Save the money.
But it's like it's soccer. You play the games, you collect points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season is the winner. You reward whoever's done best over the period of time, because this is sport. In any given game, anyone can win that, and so like that's not a good reflection to me of like building a solid club. It's like, oh yeah, we win one game, and like in the UPSL, you probably pick up a random guy right before that. It just none of it made sense to me. Right. And so what we were really looking at too is that we were having to build essentially two different rosters. We were building a roster for early May and then, a good chunk of May, and then we'd start to have guys matriculate into the club as they were getting done with university or getting done with their ECNL season or whatever they were coming from.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden those guys that were in the club and getting minutes, maybe they weren't playing as much because all of a sudden our rosters would balloon. At the end of last year, both of our futures teams had over 35 players on them. It's not fair. Like, that's not good for the players. It's not good for the coaches. The fans are like, what? I don't even know what's happening. It's like whiplash for a fan. So like none of it truly made sense when we were all looking at it. But we're all doing it because UPSL represented like low barrier to entry. So
yeah,
look, at the end of the day, we have won that league every year that we've been in it, in every level that we've been a part of it, with 16, 17, 18-year-olds playing against grown men. And we just said like we need to do something different. And so, we've been in that process, like, of rolling that out here and doing so in a really thoughtful manner. And I'm really excited about what we got going on for this upcoming summer.
So you touched on it a little bit. There are some players that playing for something in quotation marks, whether it's a title or any number of cup competitions, it is important to them. But seeing that our programming below the USL2 has been focused on being that home for identifying and fostering talent that we hope kind of moves up one day, how have the players who are not in the first team or not currently in the first team or on the first team radar yet taken that news?
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, the biggest learning curve in 2025. Because the psychology of that player, I couldn't even begin to like guess, right? Like all I can say is that, we've moved back to MC2. right? So we're going to have a legitimate MC2 roster, and a really, really good MC2 schedule. It is all non-league, but like, when we start to announce these games, these are top tier one games against like some very well-known clubs that, and like, it's just going to be head and above anything we were doing in the previous league. So, like, if I'm a player, I'm very excited about those games because we not only have like Minnesota Super Cup opportunities, but also these games that are just like, I mean, I would want to play in that. Now, again, you want to play for trophies, you want to play for these things that matter, keeping track of standings. Like, those are all different ways of like motivating a player. But like I said, to me, we've got the really cool thing about Minneapolis City is that we have been the first down the rabbit hole, and we've shown a different model. And there's been a ton of clubs that have popped up and are doing different things, whether it's in UPSL, NPSL, USL2, what have you, in the area. It's like there's lots of different organizations that guys can do some of those things. But I do hope that Minneapolis City is standing out as a place that, like, we are going to be about development. We are going to be about pushing players.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you want to be pushed in an environment that where we care about you, but like we're looking out for what's best for you in terms of player development, in terms of athlete safety, in terms of your experience, then, like, if you care about those things, you're going to come to Minneapolis City. If you want to win a UPSL trophy, which, by the way, both of our UPSL trophies last year came about 3 months late and they're all broken. Great. If you want,
Can't drink out of that.
then go do it.
No, you
Then
can't.
do that. And and there's plenty of opportunities to do that in the market.
So we clearly are never going back to the MPSL, and now UPSL seems to be out of our options. There's been some other leagues that have popped up. Have there been discussions about maybe potentially joining the likes of the Midwest Premier League at one point? The newly formed League of Clubs, with our kind of connection with those folks. It might be premature to ask this question, but have those discussions happened for a potential to move into something that would work for us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were having a lot of those different conversations in the background. Even as, like, I mean, in January, February, it was like, could we do something in 25? And look, uh, the League for Clubs, the Midwest Premier League, they're both well run. What I really like about Midwest Premier League specifically is that, like, it's regional. Again, the national playoff thing, like, even with USL2, I hope we do really well. I hope we get to the playoffs. Hope we make a run. But once you get into the national playoffs, you're going to have to double your budget
And your
for the
roster.
year and your roster, because, like, that, yeah, it's like, so how do you retain a roster that can be competitive when you're getting into late July and guys are going back to college? We've done it before. We've all been there, and it's, when we're scraping guys together to go to Detroit, and flying in guys from different parts of the country to play so we can have 15 guys in Detroit, like, like, we've done it, right? And so I'm not going to say I'm disillusioned to it. And, like, of course, like, I want to win a national title just like everyone else, but it's not the goal for me. The goal is about pushing players to self-actualize into what they can fully become. So, like, the Loic Masambis, that's what I'm here for. Like that's the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of conversations being had. I wouldn't be shocked if that in the future that we're doing something very different. And working with some of these different entities, but I think, like, it's all going to come down to staying true to the mission and making sure we're doing what's best for coaches, players, fans.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about, I want to talk about the players for a minute, especially on the futures side. Some of us that came out last month to check out the session may have noticed an interesting shift in the talent pool of the futures roster. I think it's still as diverse as ever, but it's getting younger, and it's pulling players from literally all across the state. Can you talk a little bit about the vision you and the coaching staff have for this program as it evolves to kind of line up to these, to kind of more tightly line up to your goals that you've been talking about tonight?
Yeah. The really interesting thing with the Futures program this year for the winter specifically, like, I'll give my tip of the cap here to Josh Roy, who is, returned as our Futures coach and really like our primary head Futures coach. And Josh Roy did a lot in revamping winter Futures, seeing that like the type of structure that we had for the program, that we could kind of revamp it a little bit to improve it. And I think we're in a really good spot with it. We also did some different things in terms of, previously we had done things all in age bands and kind of said like, okay, we're going to go, I kind of think we did 17U and then U, and we're pretty strict about some of those things.
Yep.
And when I was looking at it, I was like, hold on here. None of this is making sense to me, because we were starting to get in our own way of like, okay, there's a 16-year-old, but he's really good. He could probably play up here, but then, the coach that would be on the 17U would be like, no, he needs to play here because like he's that age. And I was like, aha, see, this is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the American soccer system issue all over again. Like, I don't care how old you are. I really, really don't care. I'd like to remove that as a barrier for everything we do, right? And so it's just straight merit. You ball out, you play. Don't really care how old you are. We set up age band. So basically, it's like if you're born between the year of 2002 and 2009, which is, like, we set it at 16 right now as the youngest, but I even think we have a couple 15-year-olds in the program.
Yep.
It's like then just like the top players, top 40 play here, next 40 play here, and like there's movement between the two depending on how you're doing. And I just really like the outcome there, because like for me, age shouldn't matter, except that like we should be trying to go as young as possible. And look, I've got families, kids reaching out to me every day to say like, when are you guys going younger? And so like I think that's a testament to the program, but like it's resulted in some cool things in the Futures, and hopefully, like, it's not even about what happens with Minneapolis City specifically. The cool thing about what happens in the soccer world that I've seen is that you do it well, and it is about how it affects the environment as a whole. So when we do things, there's a reverberation in the market, and hopefully like everyone ups their game and starts to do things a little bit differently. That's what's good for soccer.
Adam, as the executive director of MTA, are you creating your own competition?
Maybe.
Oh, well.
And okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. And that's what, like, there's going to be a day where it's like these things may come into competition, or there may be conflicts of interest. And like when those things come up, then I have to make a decision. But like for right now, Minneapolis City has been a great complement and a great partner of MTA. And so like that's been great.
Yeah.
But again, for me, it like I'm here to build a better future for Minnesota soccer. It's not about even the kids that are here right now. It is about them, but it's more about the next generation and the next generation, and how do we do things better, because there's so much of sport that can get stagnant and people try to protect what's theirs in this gatekeeper mentality. And I'm just not here for it.
Yeah.
So
real quick question, John, before you move on to your next one. I'm wondering, Adam, like how is that philosophy when you say you're really about building a future for Minnesota soccer, right? How is that philosophy, I don't know, I don't want to say evolved, but has it come to life over the course of your career? I mean, I remember the first time I talked to you, you were a coach at De La Salle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you were the executive director of Southeast Soccer, right? Which is, a little community group, but still very important to the people in my neighborhood, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
All the while at Minneapolis City, kind of moving up the ranks, stepping away from, getting paid to be on a soccer staff and now back with MTA. Like, is this philosophy something you're kind of, I don't want to say new to, but are you finally maybe finding yourself in the position to be like, I can actually help achieve this goal. I can affect the future of soccer in Minnesota?
That's a really good question, Nate, and probably one that I need to reflect on more. Because, I'm 6 months in at MTA. MTA is a storied history and has done a phenomenal job in so many different ways. And all I'll say is that, like, human development is messy and it's non-linear. And, like, the things that I truly believe are that we all are stewards of the game and of human development, and players do not belong to a club. Players don't, belong to any entity. It's like we're here to help them and be a stop along the way. And we should celebrate their success whenever and wherever that is. And so when we take some of those things and we try to double down on that, I think that, like, organizations can really thrive. But it is about shifting all of our mentality to say, like, how much do I care about winning this one thing? Look, I'm one of the most competitive people I know. I love winning, and probably more so I hate losing. And so, like, those things are always true, so you don't lose that along the way, but like, what does it really mean to be a successful organization and to help other humans get to their fullest potential?
Yeah.
Like, strip away the soccer, strip away everything else. Like, we're here to make humans better. And so when you look at what that really needs to be, and you get to the core of it, it really helps to be a North Star for who you are and what you want to be as an organization. I think that's kind of what's helped Minneapolis City along the way. And I hope that it'll help MTA in becoming the premier youth development club in the region, in the country.
Well said.
Man, what a way to put a bow on this one, Adam. It is always a pleasure to sit down with you, my friend. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. And all I can basically say is we wish you and the rest of the club's leadership the best of luck in 2025.
Hey, you guys are absolute pros. Every time I do this, I'm like, man, you guys are really good at this stuff. So thanks for having me on. It's always fun.
All right. Take it easy, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. Bye.
And that'll do it for this week's show. We have to give a shout out to our wonderful show sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. Our friends at footballstadiumprints.com are always expanding their soccer-focused t-shirt designs, prints, and more. And don't forget, you use that code CROWS10 for 10% off everything you purchase. All U.S. orders ship right here from the States. No international shipping charges, no tariffs passed on to you. As a reminder, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so you can feel good about giving back to the club that gives back. Your membership doubles as a charitable donation to a club that does good. Memberships for 2025 are available. Get in and secure your spot in the stands. As you heard from Adam, it is shaping up to be an exciting 2025 season full of new faces and plenty of new excitement on the field. If you've got anything you want us to cover during the off season, please connect with us on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcast. Yes, we're still on Twitter X, and you can even email us if you have any questions or topics you want covered on the show, mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can always connect with the club everywhere you get your social media at MPLS City SC. And that's all for this week. I am Nate. That was Adam Pribyl. And of course, John Bisworm as well. We're going to keep that interview train rolling. Next time, friends, let's keep the guessing game going on who's going to be joining us on the show. Another club bigwig, I guarantee. So until next time,
Got hooked.
you got hooked.